folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Just had some thoughts on my mind, thought I would share them with you because I know that some of you are going through this, dealing with it, and that is the calling, the desire to be more self-sufficient, to get out on a homestead or to get away from the city and to live as simple as possible. You know, you may not be trying to live off grid in a very kind of primitive way, but your desires are to get away and get out of these these cities of iniquity, to get out of Babylon, and you want to move out into the, out here. The problem is you may have limitations. Maybe it's money. For a lot of people, it's money. Maybe it's skill. Maybe it's not that you're a dumb person or anything, but you've spent your whole life focusing on developing a certain skill, a certain trade, and that particular skill does not help you in this lifestyle at all. Maybe it's physical limitations. And I just wanted to address some of that because I know all too well that those things are very real and that they can hold you back some, but mostly the biggest thing that they hold you back on is up here. You start to think that you just can't do it. It's just too much. You don't have the money, you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the physical capabilities of living this lifestyle because it's not easy. There's nothing easy about it. So I thought I would take a few moments to just talk about that. Before I get started, though, I know some of you are still stocking up, and I get questions from time to time about emergency food and where's some of the better places to get it. And My Patriot Supply is running a sale right now on their 3 months food supply, $200 off. There's a link down in the description below, and you can go to their website if you're interested in that. I know that's not a product that's for everyone because not everyone is interested in the emergency food, but for those of you that are, it's a pretty good deal right now, especially considering the continual increase in food prices. You know, I understand because, I was there once, a long time ago, of watching videos or reading articles. I started off before there was YouTube, and I'd pick up magazines like Countryside, Farm and Stock magazines, and Backwoods Home magazines and stuff, and I was trying to learn about this lifestyle. Even though I did grow up fairly rural, I grew up working on farms and out in the country, but still there's things you just don't learn, that this lifestyle is different. So I understand that. And I understand that it can be tough. It can be, very overwhelming to take this on. And a lot of times people, before they get started on this path, they have all these ideals of how it's going to go, how much it's going to cost, how long it's going to take to do particular projects. And then when they get into it, they realize that there's all kinds of costs that they weren't factoring in, all kinds of materials that they need, or certain tools that they didn't realize they needed. They didn't realize it was going to take that much longer than anticipated to do something. Maybe supplies weren't available, or people that were delivering things couldn't get there on time, and so it's just constant setback after setback. And then a lot of people also realize that they're physically not able to do some of these things, or at least it slows them down. And a lot of people start to get down about that. They get down and they realize that, or they start to think that they can't do it. And I'm here to tell you that you can. And I don't say that just to kind of, blow smoke in your face to make you feel good. I am a living example of that. I had a spinal cord injury several years ago. I've had a few surgeries because of that, and I had to learn to walk all over again. And I was told that if I was lucky, I might be able to walk with only a cane or something like that, maybe a walker. I was told that it was a good chance I could be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. And while I haven't been to the doctor in quite a while, the last times I went, they told me that I could just someday wake up and be in a wheelchair. And I have physical limitations. I'm still able to get around and do stuff, but I know that I hit a wall, and I know that I can't do anything any more than that. Just like this back pain and back injury I've been dealing with for the last couple of months. It's definitely set me back a lot, and I'm still dealing with pain, although I can certainly do a whole lot more than I was a month ago. So I understand the physical limitations. I have seen people that are in much worse physical condition than myself, maybe because of age or diseases or injuries, that they have a lot of physical limitations, and it's hard on them. It takes them longer, but they do pull through. And of course, that's a big selling point for having a community where we can all kind of pull together and help each other out. I'm a firm believer that everyone that has the heart and the mind to do so is capable of contributing something to a community. Not everyone has to be a gunman, door kicker, or not everyone has to be an engineer, or not everyone has to be a emergency room doctor to contribute to a community. And then I also understand the money. We're not wealthy by any means. I mean, not even like middle class wealthy. And when I started out years ago by myself, and then kind of restarted again when I met my wife, we had very little. I mean, we started off with just about nothing. And the place that we live right now, it was there was no house there. There was no running water, nothing. There was nothing there. It was just land. And we lived in a 30-plus year RV for a while, until we started, being able to kind of build things and add things and get water lines in and build a small cabin, and we're still doing that. It's not finished. We're still doing it, and it takes us a while, because whether it's physical limitations or just busyness in other things, and then also money limitations. We're not able to just go out and buy everything that we need to make it work, to get it done. Each month we figure out what we can afford to spend towards the development of our home and property, and we work at that pace. So for those of you that are questioning, can you do this? Is it possible? Do I have the skills, the knowledge, the physical ability, the money? Well, most people, at least in my experience, that have endeavored on this lifestyle don't have a lot of any of those things. Sometimes they may be physically fit, but they don't have the skills, or they don't have the money, or maybe they have some money put away, but they don't have the physical body, or whatever it is. But they make it work. And I always think back to the first pioneers in this country, the early homesteaders that were literally blazing trails across the West and going off into really a wilderness with no supply chain, no infrastructure, nothing. And it was hard, and some of them didn't survive, but many did. And I believe wholeheartedly that we can too. And I know that the homesteading, self-sufficient lifestyle is going to look different for each one of you. Some of you want to just rough it. You want to go out and live completely off the grid, not connected to any utilities, and just build from the ground up. And others, are just looking for a little farmhouse or something out in the country that you can grow your gardens and have your chickens and goats and stuff. And either way, it's difficult. It's hard. It's a lot of work, and it does take a lot of skill and knowledge. And unfortunately, the world that we live in not a whole lot of people, it's not just you, it's just not a whole lot of people have that, because we haven't needed those kind of skills. Most people have not needed those kinds of skills of understanding how to build something from nothing, from scratch, from scrap materials, doing it not the proper official way, but just doing it anyway to make it work. Not many of you have a lot of gardening skills or animal husbandry skills and general farming skills, because most people haven't lived in a world that's been required to survive. Some of you certainly, but not everyone. And so for those of you that are unsure about embarking on a self-sufficient lifestyle to become really ultimately prepared, as much as anyone can be, or you've already started on it and you're struggling with realizing that it's taken longer, it's a lot harder, I'm here to tell you that, number one, don't give up. Don't give up, because that is the failure, is giving up. Not doing something the right way the first time or two is not failure. That's just learning. I mean, that's how I learned. I didn't have, for the most part, someone holding my hand and telling me how to do all these things. I mean, a few things were passed down from my, parents and grandparents and just how I grew up, but a lot of it I just learned. I learned by doing it and realizing that I didn't do it right, building something and realizing I didn't build it the right way, and then having to go back and fix it and redo it again, or whatever it was. I've learned from experience, and so now I know, at least on some things, the better way to get things done. And many of you could also echo the same statement, I'm sure, that's how you've learned. And so for those of you that are in the beginning process of this, don't give up and get discouraged. What you're going through of trying to figure out if you can afford it, how to afford it, how to get your body to function and to be able to be strong enough to do the things that you need to do, the skills, how to develop the skills, the knowledge to do this. It will happen. It can happen if you persevere. You have to push through all of the temptations to just give up. And there's been times in my life throughout this whole endeavor of the many years that I have been, going down this path. There's been times I've thought, you know what, it would just be so much easier to just go rent a suburban house or an apartment or whatever and just, live an easy life. Come home and sit and watch TV and, just be comfortable. But I know in my heart that I'd never be happy, and I know in my heart that that's not the best way to live. And so, while it's not the most pleasant thing to get up early and go out in the cold and take care of things, or it never fails when something breaks or an animal is sick or injured. It's always in just the worst possible times. It's at 11, 12 o'clock at night when it's cold and rainy that the sheep get out of the fence and they tear the fence down, or one of them gets hurt. It can never be on a nice warm day when you have nothing else planned in your life that something goes wrong. It's always at those times that something goes wrong. It's kind of what they used to call Murphy's Law. So don't think that you're bad luck, which it's not bad luck, but let's just call it that for the sake of the argument, that your bad luck is unique to you. It's not. That's what every one of us have gone through. Very, very, very few people go into this lifestyle of self-sufficiency and preparedness and have all the money they need to do it. They have all this knowledge already of how to do it, and they're as physically fit as possible so that they can do it all. Very, very few people. Or they have the money to just pay someone else to do it. It's rare. I personally don't know of anyone that would fit into that. I mean, I've heard stories and I've seen what it looks like that's happened with some people, but I can tell you from my experience around here, I've not seen it ever happen. And all I want to do is encourage you, because I get feedback. I get the emails from some of you that are struggling and trying to figure out how in the world they can afford to do this, how in the world you could physically do this, how you can learn. You feel so overwhelmed because you have to learn so much so fast. And the best answer I can give you is to just keep pushing forward, because you will get there. You will do it. And maybe not everything will always be done. Maybe not things won't look as perfect and beautiful as some kind of little Pinterest picture that's all lovely and frolicking through the, wildflowers in your field full of cuddly animals. But you will at times find out that this life is worth it. And you feel so much more free and so much safer than you did in your previous life experiences. So don't give up. Keep pressing forward, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help, because there's a lot of times in our lives there are people around us that are willing to help, and they're just waiting to be asked. So keep it up, folks. Don't give up. Be a pioneer and stick with it, folks. It's time to get your houses in order. Prepare mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.